Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Crypto Invest. Today I want to talk to you about Segwit 2x. I want to give you some of the updated information on the upcoming hard fork in the next 2 weeks or so. As always, this video is for informational purposes and should not be considered as investment advice. So let's get into it. Alright, based on this countdown, we are 16 days, 2 hours and 39 minutes from the time I filmed this video. Segwit 2x is gonna activate at blocks 492463, and that's about 16 days and 2 hours away, give or take. Sometimes it's a little quicker, sometimes it is a little slower because the block can be made a bit quicker or a bit slower. The hard fork activation is based on a block number, not based on THAM. So what happened is back just last week when we saw Bitcoin go is actually happened about 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Anyway, we have 16 days from now. Do you have a plan? Are you ready for this hard fork? Well, have a look at the market. In the last few days, the market has gone up quite significantly. We have seen the initial sell-off after the Bitcoin go. So where Bitcoin went from around $6,000 all the way down to about $5,700, and then over the weekend Bitcoin shot up quite a bit. A lot of volume came in. Bitcoin pushed all the way to all-time high, which depend on what you look at. Different exchanges have different price, but around $6,200 to $6,300 US, and currently Bitcoin stay above $6,000 at $6,151. So it does seem that traders and investors are taking their positions in preparation for the hard fork. So have a look at CoinDance. By the way, as always, all the links to these website will be in the description below, just in case you want to know that. So on your screen, you will see that the Segwit 2x current intention is around 84.8%. So quite significant. Consensus has been going up too. Consensus currently at 32%. And these are the mining pool that signal Segwit 2x intentions, including Antpool, Bitfury, BTC.com. So some of the biggest mining pool out there are signaling Segwit 2x at the moment. But of course, we are still 16 days away. Anything can happen in the next 2 weeks. The hard fork seems to be happening, but we don't know yet until we get closer to the date of the hard fork. Alright, so are you for 2x? Are you against 2x? I personally can care less because I am an investor, so I really just looking at cryptocurrency from investment standpoint. I'm trying to provide information so you can make your own decision on what is right for you. And if you've been with the channel for a while, you know I always try to provide as much unbiased as I can possibly can. You know, of course, I do have bias of my own, so I'm trying to present both sides of the argument a lot of times. So in this case, Bitcoin Magazine have very good articles about some of the pros and cons, whether you for Segwit 2x or no 2x. So I'm going to present you both sides of the story. So let's go into it. So first up, these are some of the reasons why you may want to go for 2x. So first off is you would like Segwit 2x because you want potentially lower transaction fees or faster confirmations. So basically Segwit 2x is when the current Bitcoin, which is already activated Segwit, they gonna increase the block size or block weight, as they call it now, to 2 megabytes. Hence it's called 2x. By the way, if you are not familiar of what is happening, take a look at my video about Segwit 2x. I have quite a few videos, starting with this one here I posted about 2 months ago. So take a look at it if you want to get more familiar of what is happening. So moving on, back to this. So yes, the larger block size can potentially mean you can fit more transaction into one block. That means the fees may go down and the confirmation can be faster. Also, the 2x side argue that the larger block size make it harder for people to attack the network because it's gonna make it more expensive for the attacker to spam the network with bogus transactions. So that is one of the reason why you would go for 2x. So the second reason is for yes to compromising. So basically what happened is the issue with Bitcoin that's having long transaction time and also really expensive fees. In other words, the scalability issue with Bitcoin has been going on for a while now. There are raging war between both sides of the aisles. One side of the aisle will say Segwit or segregated witness is the right protocol to implement, and on the other side, they want to have a bigger block size to be implemented as a solution for the scaling issue. Now, both sides been raging war for a while now until back in May when they all got together in New York and they agreed to compromise each other with something called the New York Agreement. And with the New York Agreement is basically saying that we are going to adopt Segwit to begin with in August, and then after that we are going to implement the 2x megabyte block size, 2 megabyte block size, to compromise both sides of the aisle. So if you say yes to Segwit 2x, you are agree to compromise, so then everyone can live in theory in a happy world when everyone is happy. So that's the second reason for the 2x side to cite. Now, the third reason is for yes to keep in their word. So this is go back to the New York Agreement. Those who signed the New York Agreement and then later on backed out of the New York Agreement, meaning that once Segwit is activated, they go ahead and don't want to move forward with the 2x implementation with the 2 megabyte block size, then those are the people who don't keep their word. So if you agree with Segwit 2x, potentially you are keeping your word true to the New York Agreement, also known as the NYA. So the next one is if you are going forward with Segwit 2x, you are based on this article, you are firing the Bitcoin Core. So the Bitcoin Core is a group of developers who are making Bitcoin protocols improvement for Bitcoin network and contribute to the network. And of course, all these bullet points I'm telling you are highly controversial, but basically a lot of people believe that Bitcoin Core is somewhat more interested into controlling the network, having power over the network, rather than trying to make Bitcoin better. Case in point, they can't. So my apologies. Bitcoin Core could just simply release a client based on this article that would be compatible with Segwit 2x. And another point I'd like to point out that Bitcoin Core are volunteer coder. They are not, they are no Bitcoin company, so they're not hired by anyone. But as a group, they work together to accomplish one side of the aisle in terms of goal and objective. So in this case, Bitcoin Core definitely not for 2x. So next is if you are saying yes to Segwit 2x, potentially you are saying yes to miner being the deciding factor. So basically, this is similar to what Coinbase is saying that, whichever the miners, whatever the chain that have the most difficulty, the most hashing power, that's the real Bitcoin. So if you're saying yes to Segwit 2x, you are agreeing with that logic, is that whatever the chain have the most people mining it, which also means the most secure and the quickest transaction, then that's the real Bitcoin. So those are the points that the 2x side of the aisle presented. So now let me present you the other side of the argument, which is the no 2x camp. So on the no 2x camp, why would they say no to Segwit 2x? So if you say no to Segwit 2x, they believe that you are saying no to more security trade-offs. So what happened is the bigger block increased the resource requirements for operating a full node. Nodes are basically people who operate and verify transaction, and they have a copy of a full ledger of the entire blockchain of Bitcoin since beginning, which is about 9 years ago. And of course, the bigger the block size, the more transaction, the more bandwidth is going to be used, the longer sync time for the nodes, and so forth and so on. This increases the cost for individual users to partake in the network in the trustless and therefore optimally secure manner. This increased cost could in turn have a centralizing effect of the network, especially if it results in fewer users running a full node. So basically, it's kind of cancerous, that's what they're trying to say. So yes, bigger block size could mean cheaper transaction and faster transaction at the moment, but remember that in order for Bitcoin to function, the nodes, people who are running full node does have to synchronize with the network, would have transactions since the beginning of the day until the current date. Now, the bigger the block size, the more transaction, the more time it takes to synchronize. And of course, it's gonna get to the point where it gets so big, say 10 years later, that individual won't have the ability to run the full node anymore. Only big company or mining farms or whatnot have the ability to run these full node. Therefore, you taking the individual people out of the game. So therefore, you're gonna have a centralizing effect of the network where only the big player run full node, and they basically have control over that aspect of Bitcoin. And of course, the big strength of Bitcoin is decentralization. So the more decentralized, the more secure the network will be, in my opinion. So if you say no to Segwit 2x, it's you essentially say no to any backdoor deal, right? So this particular debate is highly contentious, right? Both sides have their own belief and their own system, and there's a lot more at play. There are also, who gonna control who gonna take over as the core developer of Bitcoin. It's also at play here. So while the details are a bit unclear, and that's part of the problem. Segwit 2x was forged between a relatively small group of people. In this case, executives from prominent Bitcoin companies during a invite-only meeting in a hotel in New York, organized by the Digital Currency Group. So this is actually true. Only certain people get invited to make that particular conference, if you will. And the New York agreement was agreed by a relatively small group of people, but they represent a larger group in terms of Bitcoin communities. But certainly not everyone was there. So those who are not there, they refused to abide by the New York agreement, and some of the people who wasn't there, they refused to compromise, and that was the reason why you have Bitcoin Cash, because they don't agree to compromise. So not everyone was there, therefore New York agreement in the no 2x camp would deem to be invalid. Okay, and the next point is the opposite point that I presented earlier, that is, Bitcoin Core indeed is the dominant client of the Bitcoin network. This is only because users volunteer to choose to run this software, and many of the Segwit 2x components, at least, are happy to do so. They have no desire to fight a Bitcoin Core development team at all. It is also not clear if any group of developers can or will take the place of Bitcoin Core's current contributors should they be fired. Not many people in the world have a deep understanding of Bitcoin code base or inner working as they do. And this, of course, going to a little more technical, but basically, Bitcoin Core been around for a long time. They are volunteer, and even the Bitcoin client are run volunteer, so no one forced anyone to do anything here. So, and they have tremendous amount of experience. So if they are quote-unquote being fired or no longer utilized, then not clear who's gonna take over their job to help Bitcoin move forward. And the last point about this particular bullet point is that it should be noted that while Bitcoin Core is a dominant client, it's not the only software client that embedded in the current Bitcoin protocol. You also have Bitcoin Knots, Libitcoin, and then Bitcoin as a range and other alternative implementation to do so as well. Segwit 2x would arguably be firing not just Bitcoin Core, but most of the entire development community. And next, if you say no to Segwit 2x, you are saying no to contentious hard forks. See, not everyone agree that a Segwit 2x hard fork is the best way forward or even beneficial at all. It is contentious, and many Segwit 2x critics oppose to any contentious hard fork for two main reasons. And the first reason is philosophical, and the second reason is more technical. So quickly, Bitcoin operate in the principle of protocols, and that those protocols should not be changed at will or changed against user will. And that a lot of people believe is the reason why Bitcoin is very trusted, because those protocol and those principles in the network are hard coded and no one can change it. But contentious hard fork, of course, will make that happen. And then the second reason they cited is the a technical reason. So when you want to change anything that is hard coded in the Bitcoin Core client, anytime you want to change the protocol that is currently in place, and especially in this particular case, changing from 1 megabyte block size to 2 megabyte block size, that have to be done through a hard fork. And if you are forcing that on the network, people who are refused to change their client to adopt to the 2 megabyte block size, they're gonna remain on the current block size, and that means they gonna continue to operate under the current client, and then the current version of Bitcoin will continue while a new Bitcoin is gonna be forked off the main chain, and now you end up with a 2 Bitcoin. But this argument is interesting. We do have 3 Bitcoin now on the market. We do have Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Gold. Not to say that Bitcoin 2X is the same as any of them. I do think that Bitcoin 2X is gonna be the most important by far in terms of hard fork. So the next bullet point on a Node 2X camp is saying that Segwit 2X is kind of rushed because they only have about 6 months to make this happen, and they don't believe that it is where it needs to be in terms of securities, in terms of software, and the whole 9 yards. And of course, the big things everyone talk about is there no replay protection in Segwit 2X. And I talk about this in the channel many times. Segwit 2X doesn't have replay protection. Replay protection is vital in these kind of hard fork, because once you split, you are going to have the same wallet and the same private key at the time of the split, because it is literally a split of the original chain. And after the split, if you don't have a replay protection, with you sending money in one chain of the Bitcoin, you may end up sending the same amount of money on the other chain of Bitcoin as well. Replay protection is important, but in the case of Segwit 2X, and specifically in the case of Coinbase, they have saying that they are going to implement their own replay protection for Segwit 2X. So keep that in mind. Branding confusion, of course, it is already confused for people like us who are already using Bitcoin and into cryptocurrencies. Imagine your mom, your grandma, people who never used Bitcoin before, never have heard of Bitcoin, stumble into this cryptocurrency world and realize that there is actually 4 different types of Bitcoin. Imagine how confused I will be. The next point I want to say is that you say no to Segwit 2X, you say no to keeping a broken agreement. So they basically saying that some of the people who signed the Segwit 2X New York agreement, they have already formally withdrawn the support. So why even move forward? And of course, the opposite viewpoint of the other side, they don't want a miner to be the deciding factors in this case. A lot of people believe that the users should be deciding which one is the real Bitcoin, not the miner. And they do believe that Segwit 2X does give the miner more power. Because based on this article, if the miners were to decide which protocol is valid, simply by dedicating hash power to it, it would imply that they can change any protocol rules. This would even let them change the inflation schedule to remove the 21 million coin limit, steal funds, and more. There you have it. I know this has been a long video, but this is an important topic. So take a look at the articles if you haven't done so. And thank you so much for watching. If you like the content, please just like and subscribe to the channel. And with that, I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.